So I guess first off, and I'm sure you've been asked this quite a few times, but everybody wants to know how you're feeling.
Well, it's really funny. I do get asked that every single day,
Hmm.
and usually it's by someone who hasn't seen me in a while because and I always feel a little awkward getting asked that question and answering it because it's been so long. It's been almost 2 years ago that
Right.
the cardiac arrest happened, and I don't even think about it anymore. I've not felt bad for 1 minute since. And the weird thing was that I didn't feel bad for 1 minute beforehand. So it was almost like I have almost no memory of it even happening. So I feel strange when people say, "Oh, are you feeling good? Are you? It's good to see you up and around and that
Yeah.
sort of thing." Because it's been almost 2 years, and I've been wrestling. I've been doing it, back at the job for well over a year and a half, and so I feel great.
I know you've been performing in a lot of local shows and things like that. I guess how important is it to you to still be able to do that?
Oh, I really enjoy that. I mean, I got into this business to be a wrestler, and somewhere about 23 years ago, because Randy Savage walked out on the WWE when he was doing the color commentary with Vince McMahon, and jumped ship and went over to WCW during the Monday Night Wars. And
Hmm.
that particular day, Vince came to me and said, "King, would you help me out just for tonight and do the color commentary with me? And by next week, I'll have a permanent, commentator there." Well, 23 years later, I'm still doing it. So, I always enjoyed wrestling more than doing the commentary, and as I still, when I am broadcasting, I just think of myself as a wrestler sitting there watching a match and talking about it, rather than I think of myself as a commentator. But it's still a lot of fun to get out, put the tights on, get in the ring, and go around with these young guys, and actually probably it's a more self-fulfilling type thing when you just want to see if you can still hang with those young guys every now and then.
There a chance of seeing you in a WWE ring again sometime
Oh yeah, I
soon?
think so. I
Yeah.
just it's going to just take me sitting down with Vince and assuring him, and probably, I mean, I've already had clearance from, of course, my own personal cardiologist.
Sure.
I'll just have to go through the whole process again with the WWE doctors and the stress tests and all of that sort of stuff, and then get some sort of scenario in mind and get back in there. Even if it's one last big match, I definitely want to get back in a WWE ring.
Right. You've been in WWE for a long time now. You've been through a lot of the different so-called eras and stuff like that. It seems to be kind of going towards more of a family-friendly type era somewhat right now. I guess how interesting has it been to kind of see the product evolve from kind of a first-hand perspective?
Well, the old saying is you can't see the forest for the trees, and I think when you're as closely involved as the commentators are on a weekly basis, you don't really notice the changes happening. Because you are working with the same people on a regular basis every single week and throughout the years. So these changes that take place are gradual, and the only time I really notice them is now with the new WWE Network, which is great, by the way. I'll go back and watch some of the shows from the Attitude Era, and I'm just in shock and disbelief. I'm just going, "Oh my God, how did we get away with that stuff?" And it's really remarkable to remember some of the things that I would say as a commentator, and it would just fly right by. Nobody, I mean, if I tried to do that stuff today, with all the social media and everything, it would just be, and everything has to be so PG, and not necessarily PG, but everything has to be so politically correct
Sure.
that. I mean, you'd never get away with this half of the things that we used to do. So it's changed, but I really think for the better. I mean, I think our audience is broader. I think it's there are more young fans, and WWE is one of those things where, I mean, I see it in my own household. My girlfriend has a 6-year-old son,
Mhm.
and he's absolutely hooked, and I can tell that he'll be a fan for life. There's no doubt about it, and so. When you make a fan at a young age, he truly is going to be there forever. And so, I think that business wise, it's certainly the best that WWE has ever been.
I think the last thing I have for you, and I appreciate your time for sure, is just seems like there's more of a focus on the actual wrestling itself as well. And there's a lot of guys like Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler and Cesaro who can really, more or less wrestle. I guess what's kind of your take on that, and who are some of the guys who really impress you as of late?
Well, there's just a tremendous array of young talent right now in the WWE that are so impressive. I mean, the first name, of course, that comes to mind is Daniel Bryan,
Sure.
being the world heavyweight champion right now. And here's a young kid who has defied all the odds. I mean, just if you look at him basically on paper or a photograph of him, you would think, no way on earth is this young kid going to ever make it to fulfill his dream and be a world heavyweight champion. He just didn't. He just had to buck all the odds to get there, but he has done that, and he's a tremendous wrestler. But we have just a ton of young guys that are so impressive. You mentioned the name Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever been as impressed with anyone as I am with this guy, as far as not only wrestling ability, which is amazing, but his just raw brute strength. This guy may be one of the strongest guys I've ever met in this industry.
King of swing, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he picks up 300 and 400 pound guys and just swings them around like they're rag dolls. He's just so impressive. But and then of course with NXT, this our next group of superstars that are just it's like they're just waiting to erupt down there in Orlando, Florida. These young kids, I mean, at last count, I think there are like 68 young talent down there that are just waiting to get their opportunity to make it to the WWE. So the future's bright, and there's just a lot of young guys that are really really impressive right now.
Yeah.